Israel Defense Forces warning soldiers and officers who fought in Gaza to avoid traveling abroad after groups filed complaints against them for alleged war crimes. That is according to a report by Ynet. In 8 cases, soldiers who did travel abroad were immediately told to return over fears that they would be arrested or questioned by the country they were visiting. The soldiers visiting Cyprus, Slovenia, and the Netherlands. The IDF does not bar soldiers from traveling abroad, but it does conduct a, quote, risk assessment for troops who served in Gaza before approving their request. That is according, again, to Ynet. A lot to discuss here out of the Middle East, as always, so I do want to bring in Dan Arbell, scholar in residence at the Center for Israel Studies at American University, also a 25-year veteran of the Israeli Foreign Service. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this morning.
Good morning, Josh. Good to be here.
All right. Well, first off, I want to talk to you about this warning that's essentially been issued. Is it common for Israel to issue a warning like this one, telling soldiers not to travel abroad?
It's not standard procedure. It's quite rare, actually. But this comes in the light of the recent ruling or arrest warrants issued by the International Criminal Court against the Prime Minister Netanyahu, former Defense Minister Gallant, over alleged war crimes. Clearly, the atmosphere in Europe and other countries around the world is very critical of Israel, not to say an exaggerated approach to Israel's war of self-defense in Gaza. And so the IDF is warning soldiers that are traveling that were involved in the fighting in Gaza. We have to remember Israel has an independent legal system, and the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, have their own legal system, which if soldiers breach the law, violate the law, they're investigated, and if the evidence points that they're guilty or that they've done something wrong, they're brought to court and they're tried. So again, this is totally an unnecessary step by some countries around the world, but it's kind of part of the atmosphere, the very vicious anti-Israel atmosphere that we are witnessing to these days.
And as we take a look on the left-hand side of your screen, that's a live look over the Israel-Lebanon border. We know that ceasefire deal does remain intact right now. It is very fragile. Is fragile how you would describe it overall as we watch some of the fighting there continue?
Absolutely, Josh. It's the early days. It's just been a week now that the ceasefire has been in place, and still the parties are still trying to see how they approach it. Clearly, Hezbollah really needs the ceasefire, and Israel really wants a ceasefire. So for all purposes, it should work. However, different missteps or provocations or miscalculations can lead to a slippery slope and to resumed fighting. We are witnessing Israel striking Hezbollah targets that Israel believes Hezbollah is violating the ceasefire. We saw Hezbollah the other day launch a rocket into Israel in response. So again, the parties are trying to not cross red lines, but certainly these are very testy days, and the coming days will be critical in determining the direction of where this is going.
And again, you are taking that live look there on the left-hand side of your screen. One interesting aspect or comment here is Defense Minister Israel Katz said that if the ceasefire with Hezbollah does fall apart, Israel's military response will not distinguish between Hezbollah and Lebanon. What does that mean exactly? Is that a threat against Lebanon for not disarming Hezbollah, or what does that really mean?
So the ceasefire agreement assigns the Lebanese government and the Lebanese armed forces, the LAF, with tremendous responsibility of maintaining the peace, of making sure, keeping Hezbollah at bay, making sure that the southern part of Lebanon is calm. And therefore, Katz's warning is to the Lebanese government, Lebanese army, that they better get their act together and they better step up to the challenge. I think it's more posturing at this point, but Israel has indicated in the past that if war resumes, then Israel will not distinguish between Hezbollah targets and official state of Lebanon targets. Remains to be seen if Israel actually applies that, but it is, I think, more of a warning right now, and to be seen whether it's something concrete over time.
Do you think the situation there between Israel and Hezbollah, the ceasefire there that is still technically intact, could it have any sort of impact on the situation playing out in Gaza, the war between Israel and Hamas?
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope that calm on Israel's northern border would eventually lead to Israel being more flexible and being willing to consider a ceasefire in Gaza, of course, as part of a broader deal for the release of the 101 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza since October 7th. With every day that goes by, their lives are more and more in danger, and a deal is really something that needs to happen really soon. And I'm hoping that this ceasefire in the north will have an impact on the south, and that we can soon see progress there towards not a resolution of the Israel-Hamas conflict, but at least a temporary ceasefire and the release of the hostages.
What do you make of the comments from President-elect Trump as he said there will be all hell to pay, that is a quote from him, if the hostages are not released by the time he takes office January 20th? I imagine that's a threat to Hamas.
Yeah, it definitely is a threat to Hamas. And I think that, I don't know. I wonder if it will work. It'll be tested over time whether Hamas feels threatened by Trump's words or not. But it's also points to, it also sends a message, a tacit message to Israel. Look, I'm serious about this. Trump, I'm serious about this. I want this issue to be resolved before I enter office. So you also better be flexible. So I think it's kind of while he was focusing on Hamas, he also kind of tacitly sending a message to Israel, get this ceasefire agreement for hostage release deal done and move forward. And I hope that this works.
All right, Dan Arbell, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on this Wednesday morning. We appreciate it. Anything else you want to add?
Again, the importance of releasing the hostages with every day that goes by. They're more and more in greater danger, and therefore everyone should do whatever it takes, and especially the U.S. administration, Congress, to place pressure on Hamas, but also encourage Israel to move forward towards resolution of this issue.
All right, Dan, thank you again for being here with us. We appreciate it always.
Thank you. Have a good day, Josh. Bye-bye.
You too.